Gather and Give is a local generosity initiative that exists to engage a new kind of donor in charitable giving. Our vision is to raise local funds for local causes and put 100% of those funds to work with nothing going to overhead or expenses. Burlington has great nonprofits that do wonderful work in our community, and these local causes need local funds. Without money, the good work that they do wouldn't be possible. So we're here to help raise funds for these organizations so they can continue focusing their energy on what they do best, helping people. This year we wanted to build on the wonderful launch event that we had last November. The pandemic has changed our plans a lot, but the needs that Gather and Give exist to help are still present. So we put together this video and we hope it inspires you to give generously this year. 50% of all donations go to Love Inc., 40% go to the Transitional Living Center, and 10% go to our scholarship fund. You'll be hearing more about these partnerships in a few moments. Gather and Give is a charitable effort of LifeBridge Church. LifeBridge acts as a sort of reverse middleman with the goal of making giving really simple for donors and receiving money really simple for our partners. We do this by covering event, marketing, and administrative costs, as well as things like giving fees and year-end statements. We want to be completely transparent about the relationship between LifeBridge and Gather and Give, so if you have any questions about it, don't hesitate to contact us. Now, we've put together a panel to share a little more about our charitable partnerships. Enjoy.
Welcome everybody. We are doing a quick panel discussion with some folks from the community here representing Love Incorporated and the Transitional Living Center, our two charity partners. And so joining me today we have Peter Smet, who is on the board of Love Incorporated. He's actually the president of Love Inc. And he was, for a long time, he was the superintendent of the school district here in Burlington. We have Patty Wojciechowski, who is the executive director of Love Incorporated. We have Jane Olazar, who she's on the board of TLC and had a career in fund development. So we're really excited to have you guys with us. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks for having us.
So Patty, I want to start with you. You came on as the new executive director for Love Inc. this year. What has that experience been like? What have you learned about Love, about our community, as someone coming in with fresh eyes?
Sure. So Burlington is an amazing place. I have felt the warmth of the Burlington community from the moment that I got here. From little things like, going next door to our home store over to Reinemann's and getting to know the folks that are there and, kind of having those relationships starting to form has been really cool. We had a gentleman come a few weeks back. I was working in one of the stores and, he had a backpack. He was clearly, didn't have a place to stay. And kind of got to talking to him and he's like, oh, I'm new to town. He was looking for some warm shoes because it was just starting to get cold. And so he came in on the right day because we have buy one, get one shoe day. And so we got 2 pairs for the price of one. And we ended up just vouchering him the shoes because he was in a situation where he needed them. But, as leaders, sometimes we don't get to connect with those individual people, right? And get to feel the mission in the way that I got to that day. So I made it a point going forward, whether it's necessity or not, to make sure I spend a little time kind of on the front line so that I can see our mission in action and, work the food pantry, work the stores, and that's been really cool. You think, oh, these are just thrift stores. A lot of people don't know what we are or what we do. And so to be able to explain that, whether it be to someone who is in a position where they can make a donation, whether it be, some items for us to sell in the store or financial donation or volunteering, or whether it's someone who is in need of that support. It is a truly beautiful thing to be able to help someone see all that we are and all that we do. So
Peter, you were obviously a part of bringing Patty on. So tell us a little bit about what you saw there and why you're excited for her to be on board.
When we interviewed, we cast a wide net and we interviewed and had a lot of applications and interviewed a lot of people. And Patty quickly rose to the top as someone who is intelligent, articulate, had management experience, but most importantly, she was passionate about our mission, and that is a community network helping our neighbors in need. Mm-hmm. And that's why Patty is our executive director at Love Inc. today.
That's wonderful. I think that connection to the mission, when we lose sight of that in our whatever role it is, it can really be harmful to the organization. So I love hearing that, and we're so glad to have you investing in our community, Patty. Jane, you're on the board of the Transitional Living Center, which is the local shelter in town, and what TLC does is provide temporary housing, but also invests in building skills and connections for people to transition into independent living. And it's a wonderful mission. And one of the things you do, coming from a fund development background, is you help fund that mission. And I was hoping you could speak and just give us a little bit of information about where the challenges are with that, being a small organization in a small town.
So I think that the challenges for nonprofits this year are going to be in the area of both the uncertainty of our times and also sustainability of our mission. The uncertainty is something that we deal with every year. You know, are we going to be able to meet our fundraising goals on a year-to-year basis? But in a small town with limited resources, that challenge is something that we just have learned to deal with. This year, I think it's amplified because the challenge is multi-layered. We've got to figure out how to run effectively and efficiently during a time of uncertainty in terms of our health risk. At TLC, a lot of our women are going out into the community every day and coming back to the shelter. And how do we keep our families safe, and how do we keep the staff safe? It's one of the reasons why TLC partnered with UWM this past year to work with the College of Public Health and helping us with mapping out what is a safe environment. So sustainability, I think, is going to be another major issue as we see, or if we see, a downturn in our economy. We don't know. Then are we going to be able to meet an increased need? So out in our community, the past 2 years at TLC, our shelter has been full. So we've been working at capacity. What is that going to translate as the months go on? Is that going to increase? And then how are we going to handle it as an organization and be able to meet our mission?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the sustainability thing that you mentioned is so big for small organizations, and really the heart behind Gather and Give is we've seen that there's a lot of the same people get hit up for money from different organizations all the time, right? There's sort of that short list of business owners and people with the capacity to give more in our community. And what we want Gather and Give to be is something that people are giving $20 a month, $10 a month, and helping to build a more sustainable model for funding these organizations that are a part of our community. Because the reality of the situation is, when there is an economic downturn, that same person who can give a lot of money is also losing a lot of money really quickly sometimes. And so for all of us to be a part of it is really the goal. That's the idea. And so I wanted to ask you guys, maybe we'll have Patty go first, and then Jane, about, for the person who's thinking, I can't give much money, I can't make much of a difference. What impact does $100 make, or something like $20 a month, something that's more accessible to maybe some of the people that are watching this video?
Yeah, I think it always helps to understand the real value of your dollar. And what I can tell you is that for $20 a month, that would buy us about 115 pounds of food for our food pantry. So it's a pretty significant amount that will serve a lot of families with just that $20 a month. For $100, we would be able to purchase 4 coats and hats for 4 kids for the wintertime through our winter warmth program. And it's just, that $100, it's gonna buy them a nice coat too. It's gonna be something that's gonna keep them warm all winter. So a little bit does go a long way.
So I think that we can never underestimate the amount of a gift. A gift is a gift, and it's the participation. We need everybody to participate, not just the high-end donor, but the smaller donor also builds the foundation. So it's the collective amount that impacts the organization. And we talked about sustainability before, so that helps us sustain our mission, creates a foundation. But if we want to talk specifically, the $20 amount could be a copay for somebody that has to go to pick up medication or to a doctor's appointment, take for example, for a woman or a child. That $25 to $100 range could provide shoes for somebody that has to go to work every day. $167 is the cost of a night's stay for 20 women and children up at our shelter. So $150 could be for gas for the vans so that we can transport our children and our families. So, it's not the amount that you give, it's that you participate and that you're a part of the change, that positive change within our community.
Now, Peter, you, as I mentioned, you were the superintendent of schools for a long time. And besides TLC and Love, the third portion, 10% of what comes in tonight, goes to our scholarship fund. And we'll be hearing from our first scholarship winner from last year's amount later on in this video. But I wanted to just hear from you on what the impact is when generosity and the heart behind generosity, and whether it's volunteering or whatever, when that clicks in the mind of a young person, what the impact of that can be.
Well, John, it's great that we are having this scholarship for students that are embracing a kind, giving heart, generous heart. It's something that the school district has been in tune with for many years, approximately 25 years. Over 25 years ago, the school district started the community service requirement for high school graduation. We were one of the first in the state to do that. And it's something that we've been fostering in the district. But to have this group recognize it and give a scholarship for students that are giving back to the community, it's a great thing. Research has shown that the younger generations are embracing community service and are embracing giving back to the community. And it's necessary for a community to be healthy, to have that giving back. So it's great to recognize that and give a scholarship for that.
That's wonderful. Yeah, and a lot of the theme that we'll see throughout this video is it starts in young people, in investment when they're young, and how that can set their life on a little bit of a different trajectory. And so at Gather and Give, we want to invest in that. And Love and TLC, they invest in that in different ways as well. Different fundraisers and serving opportunities as ways of getting young people involved, and we think that's so important. So thank you for your thoughts on that. I want to sort of turn that same idea back around to you guys. The theme that's running throughout this video is about the impact of a generous heart, and I wanted to give each of you an opportunity to reflect on the impact that's had on you, whether it's people who've invested in your life or just kind of what you've seen come out of that. So Patty, why don't we start with you?
Sure. So I am extremely blessed with parents who showed me right from a young age how important it is to have kind of that giving heart. I remember very distinctly being downtown at St. Luke's in the cafeteria, having lunch with my mom. My dad had brought my sister and I, and a man walked in and he was kind of rummaging through the discarded tray area looking for something to eat. And my dad, without saying anything, just got up and went and talked to the man and bought him some food. And, in that moment, I think I was probably about 9 years old. I didn't take with me the importance of that whole interaction, but years later, reflecting on it, it kind of was, as a parent now, I see it's so important to just set that example, right, for our kids. So as I grew up in the church and was able to have other volunteer opportunities, I just kind of kept feeding that little fire that I think started with that meal that my dad bought that man. And I spent some time about a year ago volunteering at an organization in Kenosha, and that's really just when I knew that I needed to do something different and be part of giving back in a much more tangible way than what I was doing before.
So this was a hard question for me to answer. I think because of my professional work, I'm so used to looking outward, and looking at need for organizations or for community to look inward was hard. But I kept on coming back to two people that really invested a lot of their time and energy in me, and that was my parents. So I think of a parent and that love that a parent shows a child, and I think it's the purest gift of all. And so, and I look at kids up at the shelter that come up to that shelter that don't have that kind of support, and it really is almost a humbling experience for me, because I wonder, why did I get that ticket? But I feel too a sense of responsibility because of that to give back. And I think my parents showed me that. I think they were there every step of the way to guide me and make sure that I went into that direction. So those are the two people in my life that I think that had given me the most investment and the greatest gift.
You know, reflecting on that question makes me think how truly blessed that I am to have had, like has been mentioned, you know, parents that provided stability, support, food security, housing security, all of those things that we as an organization are trying to provide our clients. We had that, I had that, and it was such a wonderful thing, and it allowed me to be in a place to give back and to help give back because of those gifts that I had growing up. And then of course to have my wife who supported me through my career, and I also had some great mentors in my career that really helped me a lot and guided me along the way when I was young and trying to advance my career and move up through my career. It's really a blessing to have those unbelievable people in your lives that are that giving heart, that are giving of their time and wisdom. Mm-hmm. And of course your parents who give a lot more than just time and wisdom. It's a lot of money and a lot of things to support a child, but it truly is a blessing to have those things.
I love hearing you guys' stories, and I would feel guilty to not now mention that my parents and my in-laws are great. You know, we have this support and this foundation, and it's a big part of the reason that we have the capacity to help others and to give back. And so we do have a responsibility to do that. I totally agree with what you guys kind of all said. We want Gather and Give to be a part of that in the Burlington community. So if you're watching this, we hope that you will invest and you will be a part of the generous work that's happening here. And we believe that it will change the people that are the recipients of it, but it will also change us as people over time as we live out a generous life. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you for inviting us.
Thank you.
Next, we're going to check in with Courtney Raboyne. Courtney was the winner of our first ever Gather and Give scholarship, and we recently caught up with her as she's navigating her freshman year of college.
Hi, my name is Christy, and I'm here with Courtney, our Gather and Give scholarship winner. We're just going to check in and chat with her for a few minutes.
Hi.
Can you tell me a little bit about yourself? What do you do for fun? Where do you go to school? What are you studying?
Yeah, so I was born and raised here in Burlington, and when I'm not at college, so in the quarantine, I live with my mom, my stepdad, and my little brother. And growing up, I was involved in everything from sports to theater, religious groups, civic organizations, and nonprofits. And that's what's led me to where I am today at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, studying communication sciences and disorders and community and nonprofit leadership. However, when I'm not studying, which is not very often as a college student, I've learned, I like to spend time with my family and my friends, and I love playing around with my little brother, baking and hiking and watching movies. But my all-time favorite thing is going to get ice cream. I love ice cream.
Me too. I'm a big ice cream lover. What is your favorite place?
I really like Cedar Crest ice cream.
Ooh,
so
yeah.
The place in Wilmot is my favorite.
Oh, that's a good one. And now it's coming to Burlington too,
I
which is
know.
exciting.
It's awesome.
One of the big reasons why you were the scholarship winner was because of all the volunteering that you did in high school. Can you just share some of your experiences from that time?
So growing up and even prior to high school, my mom always placed a strong emphasis on volunteering. So as a young child, my brother and I would help out at local food pantries, We delivered meals to families on holidays, cleaned up the highway, and we also became support buddies for children who suffer from autism. And then as I entered high school, I decided I wanted to expand on my volunteerism. I chose to join leadership groups, one particular where their core value is giving back to the community. And from then on, I decided to experience Transitional Living Center and the Ronald McDonald House. For the past 6 years, I've helped raise awareness for TLC and planned activities for the women and children at the shelter. I have raised money for them and painted one particular activity focused on the spirit of giving during the holidays. I had helped gather 11 other students to help me up at the shelter, where we made dinner for the women and children, we did an ornament craft with kids, and then at the end of the night, we gave them all presents. And during this time, we were able to talk with the moms and ask them what they had hoped for themselves in the future. And after dinner, we were just playing with one little boy. His favorite game was on the Wii, actually. And his mom had came up to us with tears in her eyes, and she was like, I can't believe high school students are making time out of their busy schedule just to come and spend time with us around the holidays. And for me, that had a huge impact. And I realized that I wanted to continue to work with TLC when I can. Specifically now in college, it's a little bit harder, but I want to continue to work with them because I believe in their mission, and I've seen the positive changes that they have with those that they serve. But I also working with Ronald McDonald House, I've seen so many positive rewards. From making new families feel comfortable to cleaning their bedrooms and sometimes playing with the kids there, I have felt a sense of hope knowing that I was making their time at the house a little less stressful. One time, this little girl had just came back from the hospital and she was finishing treatment. And she asked me if I would play a game with her. So I did, and that's when I realized that just the giving of your time has such a huge impact on not only their lives and their days, but also my life.
That's amazing.
It's pretty amazing.
Oh, that's awesome. Great organizations too, for sure. So what are some things that you've learned from volunteering?
Yeah, through volunteering, I feel like I've learned a sense of gratitude, and I've realized the importance of having appreciation for all that I have and all that I am given. And it has also helped me to gain perspective, knowing that everyone has their own unique story and organizations need support to continue their mission. And by volunteering, you also gain a sense of purpose when helping others.
A theme throughout this program has been the impact of a generous heart. Can you go into detail about one or two people that have made an impact on you through their generosity?
Yeah, an individual whose generosity has truly made an impact on me is Craig Faust. Craig works on developments in the city of Burlington and supports local organizations, and he also is the fundraising chair for Make-A-Wish Foundation. Craig has spent so many hours working for Make-A-Wish just to make these wishes of these children and families come true. One friend in particular, Stella, she was diagnosed with cancer her junior year of high school, and she had spent so much time attending doctor's appointments and going through treatment that she missed quality time with her friends and her family. And senior year, Stella had decided to apply for Make-A-Wish, and there are so many people that apply for Make-A-Wish, and Craig worked very hard to make her wish come true. Her wish was to go to Australia with her friends and her family. And I remember watching the video of Stella once her wish was granted, and you can just see the joy and hope on Stella's face. And honestly, that's something I'll never forget. It's moments like that that you realize that the generosity and acts of kindness have a huge impact on someone's life. And I look up to Craig and hope someday that I'll be able to make an impact on others just by working at a nonprofit.
So the other reason why you were the recipient of the scholarship this year is because you're very bright and driven. Can you tell us a little bit about what your plans are for the future, either professionally or as a volunteer?
So I think that attending the University of Wisconsin-Madison will not only allow me to get a degree in community and nonprofit leadership, but it will also open many doors for volunteer opportunities. For example, this year I've already joined a group called Slow Food, UW. My brother is the co-director there, and this nonprofit deals with food justice issues for the college students and the community at large. Each week, the organization hosts 2 meals prepared by the students using locally grown food, and it hopes to establish lasting relationships through a family meal setting. Additionally, they work with other groups in the community like the Boys and Girls Club, and their goal is to educate where the food comes from and encourages students to get involved in their local food system. I feel that opportunities to serve organizations like these, especially during COVID-19, it will not only allow me to learn about the community and the world that I live in, but it will help me network to other nonprofits. And I know that wherever I land in my career or in my life, and once I establish a family, that volunteering and giving back is something that I'll honestly continue to make a priority.
That's amazing. I love that you just started at Madison and you're already diving into this food crisis that's going on. So that's amazing. Thank you so much, Courtney, for taking time out of your busy schedule today and chatting with us for a few minutes about what's happening in your life. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, and thanks to everyone who's been a part of selecting me to receive this scholarship. I truly appreciate all you guys, and I promise I'm working hard at college, and I want to make those who have supported me proud.
Well, we can't wait to see where you go.
Thank you. I hope I go far.
Our last segment is the inspiring story of a couple who spent the majority of 2020 stuck in Burlington because of the pandemic. We're so excited to share their story with you. Enjoy.
Hi everyone, I'm here with Darren and Lindsay Nicholson. Darren and Lindsay have a really inspiring story that we're excited to share with you all today. They run an organization called the Flu House in South Africa. So we're just going to hear a little bit about their story and let's get started. Okay, can you guys tell us a little about the Flu House and how it came into existence?
So after high school, I felt like I just wasn't ready to go straight to college and I kind of needed to do something good. So I decided to take a gap semester and I knew that I wanted to go help kids and I wanted to go for 6 months. So it just kind of, South Africa fell into my mind and I bought a plane ticket without doing any research. And then I got there and grew really close to some kids. One of the kids that I grew closest to, he was in a really tough spot and he wasn't enrolled in school and was just in a terrible living situation. I called my grandma and I had asked her, hey, what do I do here? And she's like, well, what is your heart telling you? And I said, well, my heart's telling me that I need to take care of this kid. So then I went back to America, got 3 jobs, sold my car, got nonprofit status, and then got a little bit of funding and moved to South Africa.
So I grew up in a township. What I mean by township is not being able to even have access to clean running water or even having the privilege of having a bathroom and having to make your food on a fire because there's no electricity. So being born into this environment, it's quite tough to even be able to dream or to do anything like that. So as soon as I made it out of the township and, working on myself and getting the tools to be able to take on life, I found myself in a position where I was able to help kids like myself that was born into those vicious cycles of, being stuck in the township and use the Grounding Foundation and surfing as a reward to be able to help them out and kind of lead them in the right way. And it was there when I met a little boy by the name of Diego who knew Lindsay, and he brought us together.
So Lindsay, moving to South Africa isn't exactly a standard thing for a 19-year-old to do. So what inspired that decision?
I think my biggest inspiration was my grandma. She had fostered a bunch of kids, and luckily my mom was one of them. My grandma saved my mom's life and probably a bunch of other kids too. So I think that's really what inspired me. I knew I wanted to do something with that.
So Darren, same idea to you. Who invested into your life that inspired you?
My mentor, Brian, and the Bosch family. They it was crazy how I met them at the right time when I was meant to. You see, the place that I was born into kind of like destroyed everything for me, even the way that I viewed life. Kind of lost all hope for life, really. And it was in a place called Muizenberg when I bumped into Brian. It was through the love of surfing that I bumped into him and got to know him. He saw something inside of me that I didn't even see inside myself. He asked me to go out for coffee, and it was at that point when he started investing in me. Up until today, 17 years later, he taught me how to be able to take control of my life And it was through that that inspired me to be able to pay it forward to other people.
So now together you're running the Flu House. What does that look like?
So the Flu House is based upon if you change the environment of a child, you can change the mindset. So these kids come from really, really tough backgrounds, extreme abuse, neglect, stuff like that. So when they come into our home, they have probably never been to a doctor. They've never been to a dentist. They don't even know what a toothbrush is. Most of these kids either don't go to school or don't even know how to read.
In addition, we also have roughly about 25 kids that come over to the Khulu House, and we'll feed them. Lindsay will run the after-school education advancement center, and then I'll take them surfing. But the Khulu House isn't just a place where kids live. We teach them a set of principles, life principles that they can use, that they can go out into life and kind of stand and take responsibility for their own life. Now, how cool would it be for a child that comes out of a township and is now standing as a leader in front of their community, that is changing one life at a time?
How has your vision shifted and changed together?
So I guess coming from a first world country, what I thought kids needed were a lot different from what they actually did. And I think Darren kind of showed me that, they just need someone to love them and someone to be there for them. And, what I'm not the best at, Darren highlights, and vice versa.
I think Lindsay brought a completely different perspective to the table. And that's where we aspired to be able to dream bigger, and even to be able to teach the kids how to dream bigger and set goals and work towards that. Because before, I was just living for the simple stuff, like, just your basic essential needs. But when Lindsay came, we started living.
So you're in Burlington now. Tell us how you ended up here.
So we came to visit some family back in February, and then unfortunately got stuck here. We were supposed to leave in April, and then due to COVID circumstances, we had to keep pushing that back. But luckily we have an awesome house mother who's taking care of the kids back home, and thank God for modern technology because we get to talk to them all the time. But that's how we ended up in Burlington.
So obviously you both didn't plan to be here this long, but how has your time here impacted you?
I think Burlington has such a strong sense of community. I was so inspired by it, how generous they were being, how open-hearted they were being, and just how they just wanted to extend a helping hand. And I was so inspired by this that when I go back to South Africa, I would love to be able to apply the same thing, share it with my kids, that you can have a sense of community, but it starts with you. It starts by changing individuals around you, and you form your community yourself, and that is how you move forward in life.
So you're hoping to get back to South Africa soon. What does the future of Flu House look like when you get there?
So I think the big change would be we've been renting this house for a few years, and now we're in a position that we are purchasing this land, this farmland, and it'll give the kids an opportunity to experience more of what nature actually looks like and how beautiful our world is. So we'll be able to be self-sustainable from a huge vegetable garden, and we'll be able to have a much safer, secure place for the kids.
The farm gives us the opportunity to be able to dream. Because in the past, we're worried about our safety, security, not knowing if we're going to even have rent for the next month. So most of our focus was on surviving. So we never really had time to dream. And this farm gives us that. We get to think of all the things that we could be doing with this piece of land, like the way that we're going to be impacting not only just our kids, but also our community.
Okay, so we've been talking about that generous heart. And so how has that impacted you and people's generosity towards you? And then how have you relayed that to others?
I think the generosity of our supporters has really had an impact on me, and I've just been able to see people give what they can and give what they have, and that's inspired me to do the same. We have so many children who have different things that they've learned and accomplished, and we have some that learned how to read and finally stopped butting the bed because they feel safe, and just seeing how somebody invested in me, and now I'm being able to do that for kids too. I think that's just awesome.
I think other people's generosity has affected me in such a way where, I was invested in, and I was given so much stuff that I never had, stuff that I was never able to give because I never possessed it. And my mentor blessed me with all those gifts. And being given that, I am now in a position to be able to pay that forward to other people. Now I'm able to pay it forward to our kids, teach them about the principles, spend time with them, give them love, show them what that looks like. And that kind of gives them the gift that they can give to others.
So South Africa's home, but it sounds like Burlington has created itself a place in your hearts. What could that look like in the future with a relationship between the two?
You know, I think the idea of becoming a lifelong partner would be awesome, you know, and maybe that's high schoolers or community members coming out to South Africa and volunteering and experiencing a different way of life. I think that would be a super, super cool way to connect the two together.
We've built a lot of great relationships here in Burlington, and we're really excited to move forward on that. And with great relationships, you have to have maintenance. So we'll definitely be back here real soon. And I'm just really excited for our kids to be able to have a relationship with the people of Burlington and to get the same perspective that I got, a sense of community, something that I've been blessed with, something that both my wife and I have been blessed with.
Before we get to our last segment, I wanted to take just a few quick minutes and say some thank yous. So first of all, Community State Bank is sponsoring this program for the second consecutive year. We want to thank Community State Bank for their partnership in Gather and Give. Then also we want to thank the Loop Commons for allowing us to shoot all of this video in their beautiful new space that they've been renovating. To Kitty and Creative for building sets and working on the aesthetic of those videos. And then Ebler Visuals for actually shooting video, editing video, and kind of bringing this whole project together. So thank you to all those folks for being a part of Gather and Give this year and for your partnership. Thank you so much. With that, we hope you enjoyed this last segment.
Joining us now, we have Leif Erickson. Leif Erickson's been a close friend of mine since grade school, and also a great example of a good steward in his generosity locally, globally, and all over the place. He's going to tell us this afternoon on why he deserves to grace the stage and talk to us about leading with a generous heart and the impact that a generous heart might have on our community. Leif.
I just want to say thanks for having me. This is a privilege and honor to be here with you today. Thanks for giving me a call and inviting me into this. I look forward to talking to you guys today.
Yeah, thank you very much. So, originally from Burlington, born and raised, right? And you've been gone for quite some time, Madison and everywhere else, mostly Madison. And I'm sure you'll get into that. But what have you been up to? Tell us about the work you've been doing. Give us some detail on it too, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I think for the last 13 years, I've been a youth pastor at Blackhawk Church in Madison, Wisconsin. So I've been there 13 years and primarily working with middle school and high school students primarily. One of the ways that we have invested in students' lives and students have been investing is through our partnerships, both locally and globally. And one that I've been involved in ever since I started at Blackhawk in 2008 is our Romania partnership. And then I've also more recently been part of our internship program at Blackhawk Church. I oversee the internship program, and the joy of that is I was an intern. That's one of the things I started out as an intern at Blackhawk Church, and it had a huge impact on the trajectory of my life, people investing in me as an intern. And now I have the opportunity to invest in young adults who are coming in, kicking the tires. Is vocational ministry something I want to do or not? And we get the opportunity, the privilege to come alongside them and help them learn and discover their gifts and discover if this is something that vocational ministry is something that they want to do, something that they're called into, and release them into all different kinds of opportunities within and around the church and around our community. And that's been so my heart really has, both whether it's been with students, with interns, or those in Romania. What does it look like to develop people, to invest in lives that are already looking to do good work? And that's been my joy, is investing in people that are already wanting to do good work.
Well, that's great. I'm glad you said that. I don't know that I put two and two together before, but a lot of what you just said It is really kind of explains and sort of spells out exactly what we're trying to do with Gather and Give, right? It's sort of meeting the movement where it's at, right? It's kind of taking out the middleman and taking out the noise and just really inspiring and motivating and adding muscle behind something that already exists. Exactly what you're doing at Blackhawk and Romania and some of your other efforts. And I want to get to some of your other efforts because I know you're involved in, I believe, an organization that truly aligns with that model, right? Like meeting the effort where it is and really removing the noise, but trying to bring more muscle behind it. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. Yeah, you're talking about Collaboration Project, and that's a local Madison area, Dane County nonprofit that I've served as the board president this last year. And Collaboration Project exists to bring churches together to be united in transformational love for one another and the broader community. And really what they want to do is they want to kind of celebrate and accelerate the work of the good work that's already being done throughout the county. So how do we get churches involved in that in a way that brings them together? They may have lots of different differences about what they believe, exactly what they believe, but really, what is the good work that's already happening in our community? Faith-based organizations, non-faith-based organizations, and how can we celebrate that? How can we accelerate it? You know, and part of it is helping people in the community understand the needs. So a big part of it is kind of bringing people together to learn about what are the needs and then helping them kind of go out and be part of making the change. And so that's a big part of what Collaboration Project is, and I'm passionate about it because just like Gather and Give, as you mentioned, it's so important to see where the good work is already happening. We don't have to reinvent this. We don't have to go out and be the one that's doing. There's good stuff already happening in our communities. How can we say, I want to support that? We want to celebrate that. We want to invest in that because it's good work and we want to see it really not only continue, but to accelerate and even to do more. And so I think that this is a great opportunity. Gather and Give is a great opportunity to do that. And I'm excited to be part of this because of that.
Well, thanks for that. Now let's go back because I don't want to gloss over, a big part of the story, a big part of the Leif Erikson story, right? What would you identify as sort of the catalysts that kind of motivated you to sort of live this life of service and generosity and encouraging others to be generous? You know, what was it?
Well, I think absolutely those catalysts happened. I mean, they started right here in Burlington. As a high school student, I mean, even before that. But I would say one of the biggest impacts in my life that kind of was like transformational, kind of changed the trajectory of where I was going was kind of joining a local youth group here at the Teen Center in Burlington, going down there on Monday nights, and even after a few weeks. Many of you probably know Mac or Dan and Holly McVeigh, and Mac was kind of the leader of that group. And after a few weeks, I remember he and Holly took me out to Pizza Hut right out down the road here. And I remember them sitting with me at Pizza Hut, and I was like, why are they interested in hanging out with me? And Mac said, I see in you leadership. And he called out some things in me that others had not. And he says, there's value. And I was kind of rough around the edges. I was a goofy guy. I mean, you can attest to that. And Mac's like, no, I see something in you. And he invested in me and called out in me some things that I felt like, wow, like I have something to offer. And kind of going into college from there, I was a theater major. And I had parents and grandparents who, believe it or not, like supported even that. Like I remember growing up, my dad and my grandpa are doctors here in Burlington. I got to be a doctor too. I've got the name Leif Erikson, like my dad and my grandpa.
It's convenient,
I've got to be a doctor too. And it was pretty clear in school that I wasn't going to be a doctor. So, it's like I loved theater, and my dad loved it that I loved theater. My mom was like, absolutely, we're going to support you in whatever you do. And perhaps the more scary thing is when I was in college and I was realizing theater really isn't what I'm passionate about. It's ministry. And I had parents and grandparents who were like, we support that in you, Like that could be a scary thing for a parent to hear. First of all, theater, and now ministry. Like, oh man, like what are you doing to your life? And they were like, no, Like, no, this is who we see you to be too.
I appreciate you walking us along on that journey, and I'm super thankful that I've been able to be a part of it throughout our lives together. So thank you. I wanted to hit on something else. You talked about some of those folks that have invested in you and kind of what that developed into. Let's talk about your investment into others, right? How has investing into others and maybe tangibly, intangibly, how has that changed you?
That's been a joy. I think one example of it that I often share with students or with leaders as I talk to them about what it means to invest in others is a 1990s movie called Mr. Holland's Opus. You know that movie? Okay, yeah. So you have this 1990s movie, you have this kind of aging music teacher, band director, who at the end of his career kind of gets pushed out because the music program's cut in their school and he's losing his job, and he kind of feels, I think in this moment, like all of this work that he's done, pouring his life into these students, has kind of been for nothing. And it's kind of like, he feels, I think, like a failure. That's what you see coming in. And then as they're kind of cleaning out his office with his family and they're walking out of the school for the last time, they hear a sound from the auditorium, and it's a bunch of people clapping and cheering. It's like, what's going on? So they go over there. He shows up in the auditorium, and here's this all these people from all these years of teaching, all his old students there, kind of clapping and cheering. It's like this big retirement party. And then all of a sudden the curtain opens up, and there's like this huge, his dream was to be a director of a symphony. And all of these former students from all these different 30 years of classes are there with their instruments, and they're playing this beautiful composition that he had put together, and they've done this all without his knowing. And there, at the end of his time as a teacher, he gets to see the impact of all those years. That as he, in one moment he's feeling like a failure, and in the next it's like, no, look at the impact of your work. Look at the impact of the investing in others. And so what I say to that is like, so who is it that's going to be the people in the symphony? Like, who are the people that I would want to be investing in that then can go and, do all the things that they've been created for? And what does it look like to then challenge others to think about that? Who are the people in our midst that we can impact for good?
So as you and I have discussed, either verbally or via text message or email or what have you, the world's a tense place right now, right? And the stakes are high. And I think sometimes we ignore the fact that those stakes are high, and there's intensity in communities like Burlington, where great organizations like Love Inc. and TLC and scholarship programs like Gather and Give is putting together, where they're experiencing those same high stakes and that same intensity. What could you share with us that gives you hope in the midst of all that intensity and while risking those high stakes?
Oh, yeah, I think absolutely. It's things like this that give me hope. Things where we come together despite our differences. We may disagree on political things. We may disagree on matters of faith or religion, but we say that there are things that we can all agree on for the good of the community. Like what matters to all of us, regardless of our differences, is like where that a kid doesn't have to wonder if he's going to have a roof over his head or a place to sleep, or that people have the opportunity to provide for their family, and that people don't have to wonder where their next meal is coming from. Like, those are needs that we all can agree on that matter, and so we can set aside our differences and come together for that. We don't have to. It's about unity. It's about unity, not about uniformity. We don't all have to agree on these things. We can set aside those things for now to be united in love. And I believe that capacity to love one another and love the other, especially people who might not be just like us, who have a different life. Like, I believe that kind of love is in each one of us. In fact, I think it's like in us that we take great joy in loving and giving generously of our love to others. I think the world would have us believe that receiving is great, and that's kind of sometimes our prone mind is like, I want to receive. It's my money, it's my house. Like, it's all about receiving, and that's where we think we're going to find joy. But what we find out time and again, no matter what, is that it isn't those things that give us great joy. It's giving generously of our money, of our time, of our love. Like, those are the things that time and again are life-giving to us. In essence, it's giving of our life that is life-giving. And it reminds me of a story of one of our leaders, Tom. And I'm constantly thanking our leaders for the sacrifices that they're sacrificing their Wednesday nights, they're sacrificing their time and energy to be with high school students, and it's not always easy. And Tom constantly reminds me, I know it's coming from Tom after I thank him, that he's saying this is not a sacrifice. Like, it is my joy to give of my time and my life. It is a reward to be part of this. And that's what I want to, as we give, like, what if our giving looked like that? Like, we're invited into something so important that really matters. We're being invited into something that really matters. Like, what does it look like us to give generously because of that? Because we believe in what's happening here, and we believe that giving generously is not only good for other people, but it's good for us.
Leif, thanks so much. I appreciate you, appreciate the good work you're doing, appreciate our years of friendship, and it's exciting to hear about everything you have going on in your efforts in Madison and worldwide, and I just appreciate you so much. And to all of you watching, Leif hit the nail on the head earlier. Let's not miss this opportunity to be part of something that gives hope to others. Thank you guys for watching.
I hope you're encouraged by this video and inspired to invest generously in our community. Last year, we raised over $20,000 in one night and an additional $1,500 in monthly commitments. We want to build on those numbers this year, and because of our monthly supporters, we've already raised over $10,000 in 2020. Your donation, big or small, not only has an impact on our community, but we've also been hearing stories about the ripple effects of generosity. And we know that when we choose to be generous, it changes our hearts for the better as well. If you've not yet given, we need your help. You can click the link to give or go to gathergive.org. Thanks for watching and for supporting Gather and Give.